I'm Josh. I'm the student pastor here at Sci Life. Thank you for joining us. This side, super kind. That side, semi-kind. I'll take it. All right, guys. Hey, I wanted to share something. As you're grabbing your seats, there was a moment for me that I was really wrestling through, and I wanted to share it. See, back in October, and it wasn't so much a moment, but in October, I was really kind of wrestling because I was doing all these things for Jesus. I was serving, and I was involved in ministry, and I was meeting with people and being intentional, and I was discipling, but still somehow, for some reason, there was this internal hollowness, this struggle, this connection issue that I was really wrestling with. And so if you've ever had a car, some of you probably have a car, and it starts making a weird noise, right? And so just like that, I listened to it for about 3 months. And so I'm listening to this feeling going on kind of in my heart of just like, oh, there's this connection issue. And so October comes up, and I sit down with Jesus, and I just kind of say, hey, man, what's going on? Like, I'm doing all these things for you. Why am I struggling so hard? Like, why are things so difficult right now? And I remember what he said, because he said it for the next month straight. He said, Josh, do you love me? I said, yeah, Jesus, like, of course I love you. Like, don't you see all these things that I'm doing because I love you so much? And he said, yeah, but do you love me? I said, Jesus, I love you, man. Like, what do you want from me? Like, of course he said, but do you love me? He said, Josh, because if I'm being honest, when I look at your life and the way that you're living, and I look at the way that you love your wife, I think you love your wife, Jenny, more than you love me. He said, you spend so much time with your daughter, Lila, and you talk about her all the time and show people pictures, and I think you love her more than you love me. He said, Josh, I think you love your reputation more than you love me. Many of you can probably relate. As the busyness of school picks up and relationships and friendships kind of take priority, and it's really easy for God to kind of shift over, right? Like shift over a little bit, saying, all right, I'll save him for Wednesday nights and I'll save him for Sunday mornings, but those other times, man, I'm just not really gonna focus on that relationship with him. I just need to focus on other things. See, we've shifted the order of how we should love, the priority of our love. And then the hard part is, guys, a lot of these things are good things. Family is a good thing. Like, you should love your family. Like, friends, it's grades, like working hard, striving to do your best. Those are all good things. It's just sometimes we miss it. And he asks us, but do you love me? See, we're going through this series called Abide. It's this series where we're really talking about if we want to love and live like Jesus in the way that he calls us to, then we need to abide in him. That means to live with, to dwell with God. To do life side by side, not just things for him, but things with him. We have to abide. And so this whole series kind of kicked off, and we started talking about John 15, right? And we talked about we're going to set up camp in John 15. That's where we're going to be. And so we went through the first couple verses, and Jesus started out. He said, hey, I am the true vine. He said, I'm not a fake vine with fake branches and fake fruit. I'm the true vine. You want life, you come through me. And then he says, hey, you want to know about my dad? See, my father, he's the gardener. You want shelter, you want water, you want fed. You're going to get it from him. And then he talks about our part, right? He says, and he cuts off, speaking of the gardener, our Father, God, he cuts off, but we talked about a better translation. It was he lifts up any branches that bear no fruit. He lifts them up so that they can bear fruit. And the ones that do bear fruit, we talked about how he prunes those, which means he cuts away the dead pieces so that more fruit can be bared. And that's what he does. And so as we even kind of focus on that, we're going to step into the third verse, and this is what it says. It says, you, speaking to the disciples, so he's talking to the 11. Remember, Judas, he's gone now. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. He's saying, listen, guys, you're already saved. Like you're already connected to the vine. The word that I've spoken to you, you've already accepted. You believed it in your heart. You have placed your faith in God. You've placed your faith in Jesus. He's saying, so you, like you're clean. You're saved. You've placed your faith in me. And I wanted to set up camp here because I was really kind of thinking about this concept, and we talk about the idea of placing your faith in Jesus, but I also know that sometimes that kind of just rattles around. We don't really think about what that means. So here's a game. I want to play a game with you guys real quick. Who's got the balloon for me? Where's Trey? I got a balloon. Yeah. All right, so over the summers, if you know anything about me, I have a twin brother, a little sister, and so what we would do all the time in the summers, we would just pick something and get weirdly good at it. 1 year was juggling, 1 year was ping pong, 1 year was billiards. We did all kinds of things. 1 year was darts. And so we'd play darts together. And so here's what I need. Got pretty good at it. I want you, if you think from here, see that there's a balloon right there. You guys see the balloon? All right, so who here, I want you by standing up, thinks that from here, I can hit the balloon on my first try? You guys, you're so kind. I love it. All right, stay standing. If you're seated, you have to stay seated. You can't stand up. All right, now I'm gonna throw it from here though. So who here still thinks that I can hit it on my first try? Okay, awesome. All right, here's what I'm gonna do. Lexi, Nalani, I can't see you, it's too dark. In the orange shirt? Is that Rylan? I can't, you're picked. So hey, if I call you, come on up on stage. We'll get Gabe and Noah. All right, hey, here's what I need you guys to do. All right, so hey, everybody else can sit down. They're gonna represent you. All right, but here's the thing. So you guys all believe that I can hit that balloon. That's awesome. I need you guys to go over there and hold it for me. So just go over there and just hold the balloon. You guys still in? Anybody out at this point? I've got more balloons if we need them. Lexi, you're literally standing behind the balloon. All right. Okay, hey, hold on. I can't risk my job. Let's not get crazy. So I have these waivers. SciLife waivers. Come over here. No, you can put the balloon down. Anybody have a pen? Never mind, I'm good. I came prepared. All right, go ahead and you can just sign. We can fill out the rest later. Nalani, you're actually too young. I need you to go sit down. I'm sorry. You too, Noah. You too, Paul. I'm so sorry. You guys are 18, right? 17? 17? Close enough. All right, go ahead and sign this. Just sign the bottom. We can fill out the rest later. Go ahead. You just sign right. Yep. As long as I don't hit your hand, you'll be able to fill out the rest. Go ahead. I'm excited. One of us is. All right, hey, go ahead and hold the balloon for me. You guys can take turns. I've got another balloon in the back. All right, okay, that's awesome. Okay, no, you're doing it wrong. I need you to hold it in your teeth. All right, so Lexi's out. Gabe, you're up. All right, Gabe, you got 5 seconds, man. There you go. Put it between your teeth. All right, you ready? 3, 2, oh man. 3, 2, 1. Man, you guys crazy. I'm not gonna do that. Hey, round of applause for Lexi and Gabe. All our volunteers. Gabe, you get to keep the balloon. Hey guys, hey, as fun as that was, and as silly as it was, here's the point. Who here placed their faith in the fact that I could hit that balloon? Nalani did try. But it was Gabe, right? Like Lexi got really close, but it didn't quite happen. A lot of you started sitting down. As soon as I heard it, right? As soon as I was like, hey, you need to sign a waiver, you guys were like, oh my goodness, this is real. And then they signed it, and then I was like, and you're like, oh man, this guy's gonna lose his job. But the point is, that's what placing our faith in Jesus looks like. It's saying, hey, I'm gonna take this balloon, I'm gonna hold it in my teeth, and Jesus, you do what you want with that dart. You do what you want with it. I trust you enough. I know you love me. I love you enough. Like, you do whatever you want. I'll hold this balloon between my teeth. I trust you. And see, for some of you, you're kind of on the edge right now of that. I'm not gonna assume that everyone, just because you come to church, means you placed your faith in Jesus. Some of you have looked at the balloon for a while and just said, man, the risk is just too much. And maybe today's the day where you need to make a decision and just say, you know what? God, you're so good. God, I trust you. I place my faith in you. I'll take that balloon and I'll hold it in my teeth. Jesus says, you are clean by the word that I have spoken to you. Doesn't stop there though. In verse 4, one of my favorite lines in this whole chapter comes up. Verse 4, it says, remain in me as I also remain in you. And as I was reading this last week and just kind of preparing for this message, that line of remain in me as I also will remain in you, and I was thinking about it, I was like, man, that just sounds like wedding vows. Right? Like it just sounds like, hey, like in sickness and in health, like I will remain in, or you remain in me in the same way that I have remained and will remain in you. No matter what, I am here. Do what I do. And it just sounded like these incredible wedding vows. And I was just thinking about my wedding and like when I was married to Jenny, like when I said yes to her, I said no to every other girl on the planet. That was a decision that I made then that I would make right now. Why? Because I deeply love her. I have this deep love for my bride. Similarly, Jesus has a deep love for his bride. Jesus loves the church. That's his bride. We get to be his bride. When we place that balloon between our teeth, he says, I love you. Love me in the same way. He says, remain in me as I remain in you, with a deep, abiding love. I was reading this book, and actually I heard a pastor talking about it, and it was just incredible. In Revelation, there's this chapter 2. If you've read Revelation, it's kind of all over the place. It's a tough read. But in chapter 2, it's talking about these 7 churches. And it's talking about these 7 churches, and God's talking to them, and 5 of them didn't do too good, and 2 of them did really, really well. And so I want you to guess who we're talking about here in Revelation 2, verse 2. God says, I know your deeds, your hard work, and your perseverance. He said, I know that you can't tolerate wicked people, that you have tested those who claim to be apostles but are not, and have found them false. You have persevered and endured hardship for my name and have not grown weary. God says, you're doing all these things. You're doing all these things right. Like, man, you're casting out wickedness. You're rejecting it. You're calling out false teachers. Like, that's something you're persevering and enduring for my name, and all of that, you're doing it and not getting tired. And I read this and I'm just like, man, that was me back in October. I'm doing all these things. But God says, but do you love me? To the church of Ephesus, he says, yet I hold this one thing against you. You have forsaken the love you had at first. Another version says, you have forgotten your first love. He says, consider how far you have fallen, repent and do the things you did at first. If you do not repent, I will come to you and remove your lampstand from its place. Jesus says you can do all the Jesus-y things you want. You can hold up all the fake fruit on your fake branches all you want, but if you're not connected to me, abiding in me, in love with me, you're missing it. He says, you have to love me. I want you to think about it. Would my wife be happy if I served her incredibly well and I bought her all the gifts she could ever want and I led our child super well, but I didn't love her? Would she be happy? No. Man, that would be ridiculous. And God's saying the same thing. He's like, man, I don't want fake love. I don't want that artificial stuff. I don't want your fake branches and your fake fruit. No, that's not what I want. I want real love. And he says, if I can't have that, I don't want it at all. I mean, if we look at the church of Ephesus, right? He says, I'm going to remove your lampstand. Do some research when you get home. Type in Church of Ephesus and tell me how they're doing. There's not a church there. Like, that is actually an area that is not friendly to Christians anymore. But it used to be this church that endured and did all these Jesus-y things. He says, do you love me? See, some of us have been holding that balloon between our teeth for a little while now. And the longer we hold that balloon between our teeth, it becomes really easy to forget. It becomes really easy to forget his incredible love for us. It becomes really easy to fall out of love. So what do? So God says, man, like, I don't want this fake love. Like, I don't want you to just make this thing up. Do you love me? If you've known me for half a day, bear with me for a minute, I'm going on a tangent. If you've known me for half a day, then you probably know that I love coffee. I love it. Like coffee is like my favorite thing. Oh man, it's so good. And here's what happens, and like you can ask Seth Reed, he's experienced this first Mr. Hot Chocolate. If you tell me, and you guys are students, so I get a lot of you aren't gonna like coffee, I get it. But if you tell me, you say, hey Josh, you know what? I don't like coffee. Here's what happens, and you don't even know it, but this is what happens. I make it my mission in life. It is my mission, and like, I am going to convince you how good coffee is. Like, I'm gonna find that right brew of coffee, that right coffee shop with that right blend, all the things mixed just perfectly so that your world of black and white can turn into color. Like, I want you to know how good coffee is. Why? Right? Like, I don't make commission off of it. Like, I don't benefit by getting commission off of it. I don't have a franchise or a bean farm down in South America. I have nothing to benefit, so why? I want you to think about it. Think about something you love. Maybe it's a restaurant, a video game, a person. Think about something you love and think about a time someone told you, nah, I don't really like that place. What'd you do? You said, are you serious? You said, like, are you crazy? Like for real? Like, yeah, no, you had a bad experience. Like, no, that restaurant's way too good. Or no, you don't know her like I know her. She's not like that. Right, like you start trying to convince them. Why? Because the things that we love, we want the people around us to love too. It's how we're built. And so my question is, when you're talking about the things you love, what's louder? Your conversations about video games and about sports and girls or boys? Or is it your love for Jesus? Are you just like, man, like, don't you know what Jesus did in my life? Like, don't you know what he's taken me out of? Like, haven't you seen, like, man, he took the cross for me. He took the cross, like, for you. Like, that's unreal. Like, that kind of love doesn't exist. I have to let you know about him. Like, I just want you to know him. I love him so much. You should love him too. We should love him together. Is that the kind of love that you have? Or are there other things that take priority? And still God says, do you love me? 1 Corinthians 13 says this, If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have the faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. See, back in October, this is where I was. Man, I was gripping this balloon between my teeth saying, man, like I placed my faith in you, Lord. Let me run and do all these things for you. But he said, Josh, like, sure, you're doing them for me, but you're not doing them with me. And that's my favorite part. And the hard part for me, and maybe you can relate, is I know enough about Jesus that sometimes I can look like him and not necessarily be close to him. Jesus says, man, like I see through your fake fruit. Like I see your heart. You can't fool me. Do you love me? So what do? How do we fall back in love with God? I'll tell you what I did. I did exactly what I would do in any relationship. I spent time with him. I just sat down with him. I prayed to him. I listened to him. I worshiped him. Like I talked about him. I set up my day based around different reminders because I'll forget. I've got Christian amnesia sometimes, and I'll forget. And so I was just like, man, no, I need to focus on this. I need to be reminded about this love that I have. I need to realize what he has done for me. See, it's easy for the cross to just become an idea. It's easy for it just to be a story or a concept that some guy did this one thing at this one point in time, and it may or may not have been for me. It's a lot easier to recognize who God is and what he's doing when I'm in the middle of dry land watching parted sea on both sides. And it's a lot harder when things are okay. And we need to remember, not just in the heart. He says, listen, I'm not here just to be a safety net. I'm here to walk the tightrope with you. Like I'm here for you. I'm here to do this side by side if you let me. He says, I chose the nails for you. He says, I chose them specifically for you, not this group of people in here, not the entire planet. He says, I would have done it if it was only you. I want to invite you to close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, I want you to just take a moment. And I want you to imagine. I want you to close your eyes and I want you to make it real. I want you to close your eyes and hear the nails being hammered. I want you to hear each one. Knowing that he didn't deserve these nails, that it's not something that he brought on to himself, but it's something that he took for us. Knowing that each nail we held, and each nail was sin and things that separated us from him. Knowing that he chose them, that he stayed up on that cross for you, that it was real. I want you to take a moment as we respond in a song. We're going to have a song, and I want you to just continue to remember. I want you to remember what he did on that cross. I want you to remember how good he is and how much he loves you. See, it's so much easier to fall back in love when we realize how deeply he loved us. I want you to take this song. And as you take this song, I want you to have courage. Maybe you stand up and you worship. Maybe you walk up to the cross and you lay your hands on it. Maybe you kneel down before it. Maybe you pray over it. I want us to intentionally remember what he gave because of his intense love for us, that we can be reminded to love him also. That way, the next time he says, "Do you love me?" you can say yes.